high in the jagged ridges of the Austrian Alps, where shadows stretch long over valleys and icy winds slice like knives through even the thickest winter coats. A story of survival unfolded that would capture the hearts of thousands across Europe. A tale not only of endurance, but of an unbreakable bond between man and dog. For on one storm-torn night, a lone hiker named Erich Hoffmann, a 35-year-old mountaineer with years of experience in the Alps, discovered that no amount of preparation could shield him from nature's merciless fury, and no tool, no gadget, no skill could match the raw, instinctive devotion of the German shepherd at his side, who would keep him alive when all hope seemed lost. The day had begun like many of his treks, with bright skies stretched overhead, the kind of crisp air that stung but exhilarated the lungs, the crunch of snow underfoot echoing through forests of pine and fir, their branches heavy with crystalline ice, and Erich, feeling both small and powerful against the vastness of the landscape, trusted that his careful planning, maps, gear, layered clothing, survival kit, would see him safely through his overnight hike. But mountains are tricksters, luring wanderers into a false sense of control, and by late afternoon, when clouds began rolling in like iron gates closing across the sky, Erich realized with a chill that the weather report he had trusted had betrayed him. Within minutes, the light dimmed, the wind howled with a ferocity that bent trees, and snow began to fall, not in gentle flakes, but in blinding sheets that erased the trail, blurred the horizon, and muffled all sound except the storm's terrifying roar. Erich pulled his jacket tighter, checked his compass, tried to calculate his position, but the storm had swallowed landmarks whole, and before long, he was wandering blind, each step taking him further into uncertainty, each breath colder than the last. At his side trotted Max, his 3-year-old German shepherd, his dark coat turning white with frost, his breath fogging the air in sharp bursts, his body language alert yet calm, as if he sensed both the danger and his own responsibility in it. Max had been Erich's companion on countless hikes, but never had his presence felt so crucial, so anchoring, as it did that night. As twilight sank into night and the storm intensified, Erich's situation turned dire. His phone showed no signal, his GPS battery drained faster in the cold. His hands numbed so badly he struggled to unzip pockets, and the snow was now waist-deep in drifts, slowing him to a crawl. The logical move would have been to dig a snow cave, hunker down, and wait. But the howling winds threatened to collapse any fragile shelter, and Erich, fighting both panic and fatigue, pressed onward, hoping to find a cabin, a marker, some sign of human passage, anything. But all that greeted him was endless white darkness, snow lashing at his face, the world reduced to the small sphere of space illuminated by his fading headlamp. Hours passed, exhaustion seeping into his bones, his legs shaking with every step, his body temperature plummeting. Hypothermia crept in, cruel and invisible, fogging his thoughts, whispering tempting lies of warmth and rest if he would just lie down and close his eyes. Erich stumbled, fell to his knees, the snow embracing him with deceptive softness, and for a dangerous moment, he wanted to stay there, to sink into it. But Max barked sharply, pawed at him, even bit gently at his sleeve, tugging with desperate urgency, as if to drag him back to life. And Erich, groaning, forced himself up, leaning on the dog's strength as much as his own dwindling willpower. Together, they pushed onward, through blizzard walls so thick, Erich could not tell if he moved uphill or down. And finally, when his headlamp died, the world dissolved into pure blackness, broken only by the occasional glint of moonlight through torn clouds. Blind, freezing, and barely conscious, Eric stumbled again, this time into a shallow depression sheltered by boulders, and collapsed there, realizing this hollow might be his only chance of surviving the night. His hands shook violently as he fumbled with matches, most snapping uselessly against the bitter cold. But at last, a tiny flame caught, feeding on dry scraps of bark and twigs Max had somehow sniffed out from beneath snow. The fire grew small, but real, and Eric curled around it, pulling Max close, feeling the heat of the dog's body as the only reliable warmth he had left. Hours blurred, the storm's screams fading into white noise. Eric's consciousness flickering like the embers before him, but every time his body sagged towards sleep, Max nudged him awake, licking his face, whining softly, refusing to let him slip into the dangerous embrace of hypothermic slumber. Dawn arrived as a faint gray smear in the sky, the storm still relentless, but lighter than the night before, and Eric knew he could not last another day like this. His limbs were leaden, his water frozen solid, his food supply nearly gone, his thoughts disoriented and slow. Yet Max stood ready, ears pricked, muscles taut, as if urging him to rise, to follow. Trusting the dog's instincts more than his own, Eric staggered after Max, who moved with uncanny certainty, nose to the wind, pausing only to check that Eric followed. Hours dragged by, each step agony, Eric's vision tunneling, but then, miracle, Max froze, barked, and charged ahead, disappearing behind a veil of snow, and seconds later Eric heard it too, the distant whir of a helicopter, faint but unmistakable. Mustering the last of his strength, Eric stumbled forward, waving his arms wildly, his hoarse voice barely audible. But it was Max's frantic barking that cut through the storm, guiding rescuers to their location. Within minutes, figures in bright orange jackets emerged from the white void. Strong hands lifting Eric, wrapping him in thermal blankets, voices assuring him he was safe now, while Max leapt beside him, tail wagging weakly but triumphantly, his mission complete. At the hospital, doctors marveled at Eric's survival. His core temperature had dropped dangerously low, his frostbite severe, yet he lived. And all agreed that without Max's body warmth, his vigilance, his relentless drive, Eric would not have survived the mountain storm after dark. News outlets quickly seized the story. German Shepherd saves owner in deadly alpine blizzard, headlines declared. Videos of Eric reunited with Max went viral. Experts praised the dog's instincts and loyalty, and across Europe, people shared the tale as proof of the extraordinary bond between humans and their dogs. But for Eric, the story was not about headlines or fame. It was about the night when nature tried to claim his life, when darkness and storm conspired to erase him from the world, and when one dog's love, courage, and unwavering presence stood as the single barrier between him and death. A reminder that in the face of overwhelming odds, sometimes survival is not about strength or skill, but about loyalty that refuses to let go.